Right, so in the kit, you're going to see two frames for the tank. The first frame here has got the tank tracks, the track assembly, the smoke grenade launchers, some grab handles, and most importantly, the bottom of the chassis. I got the Star Collector kit to get a commissar as well, so disregard him for now. The second frame has all the sponson weapons, the side sponsons, the turret weapons, the turret itself, the commander, and the top of the chassis. When you remove the parts from the frame, use a nice pair of hobby snips, cut nice and close to the model, to the piece, and then make yourself little piles, as I've done there. So I guess all the turret pieces together, the chassis together, and the exhaust pipes together. Just makes life easier when you start actually assembling the model. Something else you have to do before you actually assemble the model is removing mold lines. If you don't usually do this on your guardsmen, you're going to have to probably do it on this kit, because the model is so physically big, you're definitely going to see them. But more importantly, if you don't, you could actually jeopardize the fit of certain parts together. So you can see here using a knife, I'm removing the mold lines and the remains of the frame from the bottom of the chassis. Also use a hobby file. You can see here I'm moving the last of the frame from the turret. It's actually quite straightforward using this, because the pieces are so flat, as opposed to removing mold lines from, say, your little infantrymen who are so curved and so small, can be quite challenging. Something else you should also explore doing, which you don't have to do, is actually using a hand drill, my Citadel hand drill, to basically create the bore of all the sponson weapons. And as I'm doing here, actually drilling out the flash suppressor. This one's really straightforward because it's got like a guide for you to do, and as I sort of show now, it really is quite visible. So actually drilling the bore of the barrel out itself, this takes a bit more practice. So the key is holding the drill 90 degrees to the barrel and committing and drilling quite hard. It's okay if you get it wrong. It takes practice. It's not easy. It took me a lot of turns to get to where I am now. But do make sure you have a go, because as you can see there, once it zooms in or focuses, it is really quite visible. So assembling the tank itself, I'm not going to speak too much throughout the course of the next probably 25-30 minutes, but at certain points I will come in and provide some tips and hints on parts I'm working on. Right, so well done for getting this far. As you can see, the tank's coming together, but this is probably the first part of the build which gets a little bit more challenging. So I'm basically putting glue on the assembled sort of toolkit or toolbox, or I don't know, ammunition trunk on the back of the tank. And as you can obviously see, there is no real way to see where it actually goes. So what I'm doing here is pretty much guesstimating, using my eye to work out where exactly it should fit. If you don't trust yourself to get it right first time, maybe use a ruler and a pencil, mark halfway to help you guide that on. But as I bring it back into the frame, looks like I've done a pretty good job here of actually lining up the toolbox with that sort of indented part with the engine grill on the top. So remember just to use your eyes, have faith in sort of your ability to measure the center. And once you've got one piece on, it does make the rest of them easy. So as you can see now, I'm putting on the tow hook, and then obviously after will also be the two exhaust pipes. So definitely have a go at doing it by yourself, but if you don't trust yourself, get a ruler and a pencil and mark halfway. Okay, me again. So now I think these parts are actually the toughest parts to assemble, the side sponsons. Definitely do a dry fit before you commit to using your glue. As you saw there, I already got it wrong with the wrong piece. But I've got this very wrong in the past and had to pull them apart. So don't make the same mistake. I think the hardest part to get right was that sort of bit which faces the front with the curved bottom. So do a full dry fit before you commit to assembling the side sponsons. And once you've sort of built like two pieces together, you should also be putting in the rotator bits as well. Right, so at this point I move on to the barrel. I actually cut out a heap of footage because I spent ages actually cleaning up the front of the battle cannon because I put way too much glue. You might have seen it at the start of the video. It was overflowing, so actually looked really out of place. So I spent a lot of time with the hobby knife and the hobby file to flatten it out to make sure it was nice and smooth because, as you can imagine, the barrel of the battle cannon itself will be a bit of a centerpiece for the model. So having it all with the goo and the gunk of the excess plastic glue showing through wasn't optimal, so I removed it. Right, so I commented now about actually building the turret housing itself, or the turret. You notice I'm obviously gluing it in place, and I've closed the hatch. If you do wish to put a tank commander in the turret, you can obviously glue them in place. However, I personally prefer to actually paint them individually. So what I do at this point is actually use blue-tac to hold the turret in place altogether whilst I spray paint the entire kit. Also, if you do want to have the tank commander exposed, you're going to have to obviously have the hatch open. I found you can't actually glue the hatch in sort of an upright position. It's got to be glued down flat against the back of the turret because it will become quite fragile. And if you are transporting your model to tabletop games, it could be damaged. Okay, so congratulations for getting this far. As you can see, the tank's looking very together now. Some quick comments are, I don't attach the tracks to the model at this point. I prefer to paint the tank as is, and also the tracks still on the frame. Once I'm happy with the finish of both the tank and the tracks, I'll then remove the tracks and place them onto the tank at that point. I find it much easier to do than putting the tracks on now and trying to paint them. When I get onto actually inserting the sponson weapons, I don't glue them in place. I use blue-tac as a very simple way to give me the option that as I go to different games, I can match and mix my weapons from my opponent. You can obviously magnetize these as well, but it's a bit more of an involved process. But the magnet's very cheap. It is quite effective if you can do it. So there you have it. Congrats once again. So your Leman Russ is ready for painting. And basically just a quick view of it again. As it comes round, you'll be able to see some battle damage I've applied to the front of the tank. I used the hand drill and hobby knife to show some damage as it's copped a couple of bullet shots or bullet wounds, and also where it's hit maybe some hard obstacles. Also, you can see the bored out barrels of the plasma cannons and also the heavy bolter. And I'm sure you agree it does look a whole lot more realistic with that work being done. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope it was helpful. Any questions?